Hello everybody, today we've got something rather superly gorgeous, and it is the Canuel Oracle, Council of Yore Oracle deck by J.A. Canuel. And I was very fortunate, I just happened upon this when I was, Googling around the internet, and I don't usually buy Oracle decks because I'm frankly very happy with my Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and there's plenty to do in a tarot reading practice rather than reinvent the wheel and looking for other ways of doing divination. I'm a creature of habit, and people have given me oracle decks in the past and I've just not used them. But I found this deck, when I saw it online, extremely charming and extremely attractive, and I'll tell you why. First of all, let's just comment on the outsides. This is a print-to-order deck that comes via Make playing cards, and they're not always nicely produced from Make playing cards, but this one, at least it has a rigid, I suppose you call it, a rigid white box. So the box is a little nicer than, for example, Deck of the Bastard, which also came from a print-to-order company. Now you get just a white box, so I've taken the title card and I've glued it onto the front because what use is a box if it's got nothing on it? So that's my innovation. And here are the cards. It's a nice back. They're beautifully printed. They feel nice. I don't love the cardstock, but again, it's not the worst cardstock I've got from a print-to-order company. Now, what's really attractive about these cards is that they are clearly a very reverent homage to Pamela Colman-Smith. And in the guidebook, Mr. Canuel comments on this, and he says that he was really inspired by Pam's artwork. Now, this is the Smith-Waite Tarot Deck Centennial Edition bridge size, and this is the Canuel Oracle bridge size. You can get the Canuel Oracle in full tarot size if you want. I'm tending towards bridge size these days. But as you can see, this is very close in terms of format, and it's very close in terms of artwork style and lettering. Even the signature here is rather like Pamela's. Let me get you a card with some writing on it, and you can see even the writing is, what would you call it? It's a homage, isn't it? You could call it a pastiche, but it's basically much more reverent than a pastiche. So I will do a flip through of the whole deck. In the Canuel Oracle, we don't need these anymore, do we? In the Canuel Oracle, you don't see any people. So these are mainly objects. But there are some animals. And as soon as I saw this online, I thought to myself, how great, what a lovely supplement to the Pam Colman-Smith deck. And here, quilt, this reminds me of the Nine of Swords in the RWS, this quilt on the bed. And you get the feeling it's sort of like off stage, or just a little bit out, the objects that might be sort of not caught in Pamela's framing. It's very much the same landscape, isn't it? Very nice. A lovely piece of artistic, what would you say, revival, really. And it's just so well done, and I respond to artistic statements like this. Now, these objects, they're all rather interesting and rather resonant, aren't they? The quill, the bonnet, the barn, and it does remind us of Lenormand. Again, Lenormand is not a system I use. This is speaking as someone who has never tried to learn le normand, these objects seem a little bit more sort of in the modern idiom. What I mean by that is le normand is, I suppose you'd say, pre-Freudian, isn't it? It's not contemporaneous with Marianne Lenormand herself, but it is an old deck. It's probably 18th century, or it's certainly not 20th century. So it's pre-Freud, whereas these images, they feel archetypal. They feel like they've been made by someone from the modern world, from the post-Freudian, post-Jungian world. These are, in a sense, archetypes. They're dream images. They're things which are clearly going to fire our imagination and invite symbolic meanings. Now, I'm sure Lenormand fans will point out that there is a certain amount of overlap between these two, but as a completely non-Lenormand person, I can't really comment on that intelligently, so I won't even try. That reminds one of the Four of Swords, doesn't it, with a stained glass window in the background. And when you buy this, you get a PDF guidebook, which is very nice, and the artist suggests divinatory meanings for each of these cards. And you can use them or not, as you feel free. And I've used this deck a little bit. I find it fun to use. And I'm not quite up and running with it yet. But I find that the meanings suggested in the book are rather poetic and rather interesting. For example, he talks about the perfume. And he points out that perfume is something that makes you feel more confident. I think that's a really good observation. The Dawn, a lovely card there. The Volcano. The Stocks. And for the stock, he suggests that you turn a mistake into a success. So I suppose if you've made a mistake and you're in the stock, or as we'd say in England, the stocks, that would really feel like a bad mistake, wouldn't it? And he's suggesting, well, how can we turn this around and make it into a good thing? The boots. Now, I haven't shown you the whole deck because I just want to comment while I'm here on something that I noticed about the deck. This is completely a 5-star review. I adore this deck, and I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from buying it. But these comments I'm now going to make are more sort of in the realms of feedback, really, which I offer very respectfully. And one of my pieces of feedback is this, that in certain of these cards, the numbering is not clear. Look, this is what I mean. That's where the numbers are. And that, I think, ladies and gentlemen, is a rather unclear bit of numbering. And I have to confess that when I first started reading with this deck, and I must have got some of the cards with unclear numbering, I thought to myself, the artist has forgotten to number the cards, which of course is not the case, but let me just show you what I mean. There's the nest, the snail, and there's a 5 there. It's not very clear. There's a 1 up there. I don't want to be a grouch, but these are the ones where I felt the numbers were not clear. So I'll just carry on with my flip through, showing you these. They're very nice cards. Look, the swan's absolutely lovely. The shield also lovely. But it's a bit unfortunate, that a great image, but the number is hiding in the foliage. This is now a very sophisticated, sort of high level bit of feedback, and it is this. The cards directly compared to the RWS, give the impression of being a little bit dark. And this is an impression I get from them, and I kind of like ask myself, is that a fair thing to say about this deck? So let's have a look. Are they darker than the RWS or not? Not much, not really. The edges are a bit lighter. I'm showing you here the Centennial Edition, which is itself a slightly darkened RWS. So if these cards feel darker than this, then they're definitely darker than the RWS. And I'm saying this because I have found these cards don't pop quite so much as the RWS. Now, I don't think they are significantly darker, but I think there's one which disproves my theory. What I was going to say was they're a little bit low contrast. That's quite a high contrast one. But some of them seem to be rather dusky. That's a brilliant one. Love it. So's that. In a sense, they're more tasteful than Pamela's. The colours they're more kind of in-between tones, like this olive. We don't really get anything as sophisticated as that in Pamela's deck. We tend to get a more limited colour palette in the RWS. So here we've gone into purples and greys, and there's a lot of beiges here. So, you know, this is really not exactly a criticism, but it is a feedback, because it means that the deck doesn't quite operate like an RWS sort of extension. That one really does. That one's brilliant. And all the landscapes look very Pam, and I love that. I think it's mainly the interior cards where you feel the lighting is a bit dim at times. That's a very Pammy blue, isn't it? I mean, form your own opinions of it. I highly recommend this deck. I would say rush out and buy it. I find that a bit low contrast, and indeed that one. That one looks terrific. And there's another outdoors card which works really well. So that's a little bit dark, isn't it? Fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, lovely. Fantastic. And I want to show you one that I really like. Look, I like that one very much, the perfume. But if you're reading in the evening with artificial light, it has a slightly, what's the word? It feels like the brightness of the whole deck has been turned down a little bit. That's all. But anyway, this was my birthday present to myself this year, and I'm absolutely thrilled with it. And I do look forward to using it more and getting to know it more and having it as a regular part of my practice.